Welcome to another episode of the PPSS Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another amazing guest. He comes highly recommended by others on my show, and of course, a lot of other people from all around the world who he has helped become more successful in their lives. He has empowered holistic health and wellness to entrepreneurs to live authentically in their personal, professional, and of course their family lives as well. He helps them really unlock the power of the heart, which then allows them to become more healthy, wealthy, and in turn becoming more impactful for their communities. He truly believes that health is more than just symptoms management, but also emerges through the presence of love, connection, and living one's purpose. He is the best-selling author of the book Coming Home. He's also the podcast host of the show Remembrance. So please welcome author, TEDx speaker, creator of HeartQuest, and international spiritual mentor in heart-centered leadership, Mr. Chiron Yang.
Thank you, Fong. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. It's always a joy speaking with people with such great authenticity, great energy. I've seen a lot of your videos online, and you are so impactful. But share with us, how did you become this person that's impacting people from all over the world and still have this authenticity? Because people who are very uh, connected to lots of people, very successful, sometimes lose that authenticity. So share with us your origin story.
Well, the thing is that my body keeps me honest, right? I grew up with an autoimmune skin condition. It's called eczema. I'm sure many people have this as a kid. But over the years, doctor has told me that I need to be medicated at 8 years old. And without any sense of understanding of the medical knowledge, my parents and I took that as like, the ultimate belief of what things needs to be done. So I got medicated. And day in, day out, I go into the clinics, I go into hospitals, I see the specialist, and drugs after drugs after drugs. It only gets more intense over the years, right? So at 16, I decided, okay, you know what? Enough is enough. I got to throw these all away. So I did that without my parents' approval, and I did not know where that come from in my teenage mind. Perhaps being rebellious, but also having this inner wisdom to know that these drugs aren't clearly aren't working, right? So I threw it all away, and then I went to the bookstores and I picked up a book called Spontaneous Healing by Dr. Andrew Weil, right? And that was all I needed to know because at the back of his book, he says our biology is intended for us to heal itself given the right conditions. And that sparked my mind and gave me the courage to throw all my drugs and go on this withdrawal effect of the drugs to heal naturally, right? So I followed the guidance from the book, and one thing led to another, and that was the beginning of my healing journey. And without my understanding at that time, I left two prestigious universities, Imperial College from London and University College of London. I left those two universities to walk my own path, right? Because I needed to heal, and the subjects that being taught in uni wasn't able to help me. So I stumbled upon a spiritual path and I realized that there's more than meets the eye in terms of healing. It's not just a physical thing, right? It's emotional, it's psychological, it's mental, it's relational. And I started piecing all these different pieces together, and I realized that maybe success in life is a big picture, right? How you work through your family lives is affecting your business, how your business is affecting your relationship with your wife or your spouse, and how is that affected your children and your self-worth and your self-esteem. So I see all of these things as a package whole, and eventually I said, wow, the most important thing in everything is to come back to yourself, to be authentically who you are. And I saw this again and again with my clients that every time they stray off from authenticity, some form of crisis, some form of health challenges, some form of like pain that comes through will show up. All to tell them a message, please come back to yourself, right? So to answer your question, that I'm able to keep myself honest and authentic because my body keeps me honest.
So that very first moment where you go, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm gonna throw it all away. How how did you manage to navigate through family? Because your mom and dad, people who care for you, are saying, "Hey, this is what all the experts are saying. How can you verge away from that path?" I'm sure lots of people are trying to pull you back, but you had this path that you're very focused on. How did you navigate through those conversations, and how did you get them to go, you know what? Okay, let's follow your path.
Yeah, it's not a one day thing, right? I've been complaining about it since I was 8 years old. But who wants to listen to a kid, right? And obviously, we all have the inner wisdom that we do kind of like just don't listen to it, and we listen to our head. And for me, it's like I have to first convince myself and believe in myself first before, because if I don't do that, no one's gonna believe me,
Mhm.
right? And just because majority have the same opinion about something, it doesn't make it a fact. And I obviously had to do greater research to that, and I felt like I just remembering a moment in time with my dad. I told him, "This is my body. This is my health. It's my responsibility. It's not yours, right?" And taking ownership of my power and responsibility over my life releases some burden on my dad, so that it's not on him to feel guilty of having a sick child, right? I'm sure many parents who have a sick child will first blame themselves, but that kind of like go against, it's not helpful for your child if the parents is blaming themselves. So over the years, and we walked this journey together, me and my parents, we had many conversations, truthful conversations, and we have aligned our expectations over each other because we all want to heal. It wasn't just for me, it was for them as well. So I told them to trust me, and the glimmer of hope is improvement. Sure, it wasn't like completely in the beginning, because that entire journey took me 15 years to realize, to piece everything together and realize what it means to create this health for myself. So it's definitely not just a one day thing, and I also believe that it requires us to be completely vulnerable and honest and authentic, even when the truth hurts.
Was there any overlap of different strategies, or 100% this is the path?
There's definitely like trial and error. I see myself as a lab rat over that time, and my parents was like, yeah, why do something that obviously it's not working, because it's completely madness to continue believe in something that's not working, right? Even if that's what all the experts say. So we tried many different modalities. We went into like Eastern medication, alternative medication, and I even went to Peru and South Africa to see shamans, right? To find the missing pieces that I was missing, and a lot of it is found when I'm alone with nature, when I'm alone with myself. And for some reason, I think this is very important for many entrepreneurs and business people. When you go off for a walk and you just leave your work for a moment, the
Yeah.
best ideas comes true. The eureka moments. That's exactly the same for me when I go out in nature. It's almost like nature could speak to me, or at least in my understanding of myself, I can hear myself clearly.
What was that moment where you go, wow, this is working? Like it completely justified your mindset and justified your path. What was that moment like?
That moment was like a lot of doubt, a lot of fear. I'm not gonna lie. It's like almost counterintuitive, right? I often feel the best choices in life is filled with fear. And that's how I know I'm going towards the right direction. Because fear is something that's made up in the head, but danger is something that's made up in the gut, right? We all say listen to your gut feeling, right? It's true. There's danger there. Like for example, throw that damn medication. Was like my gut feeling telling me to do it. But there was a lot of fear saying, don't do that. You're gonna fail your parents. What if you made the wrong decision? What if the doctor say this and it's true? So leaning towards the fear and going the opposite of the fear tends to work out really well. And when I tried that, I saw that, wow, actually my life is getting better.
What was some of the things that you instantly changed on a daily basis? Was it your the like meditation, or maybe thinking positive? Like, what were some of the things that you did on a consistent basis to get started every day?
So the first thing that I get started off is visit the bookstores for answers. Because back in the days we don't have social media, and Google search wasn't the best at that time still. So I searched for books, and I read and I read and I read for different, almost opposing um, point of view, just to understand and compare. I did my own research, right? So the first thing that I did is to get myself informed as best as I could, and then try to apply the things that they teach. And right away, I knew at least, everything needs to be natural. So clean water, clean food, get some sunlight, right? Reduce the stress, meditate. And those are became my solid pillars in health. And it seems to do the work, to do the magic. And one thing that I actually missed out in my journey until the later years of my life is actually love, like love between your family, forgiveness, compassion, the things that religion and spirituality teaches has a point to it. And I didn't know that until my later years.
Now, when you talk about love, connection, building good relationships, it requires a lot of positivity. And speaking with you right now, there's a sense, there's this aura of a lot of positivity. There's a lot of people out there who are so quick to use their emotions and jump into the negative side. They'll complain, they'll yell at people and all that kind of stuff. Very, very reactionary. How would you recommend people to calm that down? And how do they, is there like exercises, are there things they could practice on to become more positive, more calm, more peaceful?
Right. You know, this is very counterintuitive advice, but the first thing that we need to do is to accept it. I read this book once by Tara Brach, and her book is titled Radical Acceptance, right? And radical acceptance means first being accepting, being able to be where you're at, giving yourself full permission to feel what you needed to feel without trying to do something about it is the first step. And we do that by observing, and this is why the things like meditation, things like mindfulness practices helps us to slow down our thoughts, to slow down everything. Because when we are emotional, we are reactive, right? And when we're reactive, it's like we're not making choices.
Mhm.
It's as if like the real Fong or the real Chiron is not there, but something else just kind of takes over. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. And we can't fault ourselves for that, but 100% we are responsible for it. Am I right? So what I've learned is that we got to prepare ourselves like training wheels before the actual emotional outburst happens. And the training wheel is meditation, journaling, getting to know yourself. And this is why one of my pillars for heart-centered leadership is know thyself. And it goes back to the ancient philosophy of Socrates. You got to know yourself, what triggers you and what not. And not every one of it is personal. So we got to really check in with ourselves. And the better we have a relationship with ourselves day in, day out, no matter what we're doing. Sometimes it's going off for a walk. Sometimes it's talking to your spouse over dinner. Sometimes it's just, checking yourself whether you're doom scrolling or just, mindfully receiving content and applying the insights. All these things are those practices that builds like, like a brick and mortar thing that builds you towards that ability to be calm in the moment and make good choices when the emotional feelings just rise up.
Knowing yourself is something that we hear a lot. People say, hey, you have to know yourself first before you can help others. You have to know yourself first before you do X, Y, Z. But saying knowing yourself is one thing. How do you know that you actually know yourself? Are there things that you can ask yourself? Do you walk around to your family members like, what do you think about me? Who do you think I am? Like, how do you justify who you are based on what you think you know?
Yeah, a lot of it for me, I've designed something like a journal prompt for my clients and something I call personal philosophy. So most of the time we study the philosophy of other people, right? Right, Socrates, Greek philosophy, ancient philosophy of the eastern part of the world as well. And it's always about what people think about the world. So knowing thyself or knowing yourself begins with questions, not answers. We need to learn ourselves powerful questions. And this is why being in the presence of a coach or a mentor or someone of a trusted advisor is so important because they'll ask us questions that confront us with inconvenient truths. And sometimes journaling isn't helping that much because we try to avoid those truths. And this is why we need someone in our lives, perhaps 10 steps ahead of us, or perhaps have experienced something similar to us, to be in a place of community as well, to have this conversation and discussion. And how do we know if a truth is a truth, right? We can't philosophize this. We can't overthink this. We can't use our left brain to really decipher who am I, right? It's almost ineffable to describe who we are. And what I really want to bring people is through a journey where when they go through the process of self-inquiry and asking themselves those questions, they'll find themselves in answers they wouldn't normally come to it. And when it feels good in the body, it has to be an embodiment thing. It feels good in the body and it's extremely subjective, then it's more likely that's the truth than that it's not. But very quickly, I've seen so many people get into this trap. The first thought, best thought kind of thing is usually true. And then right away, milliseconds or seconds after that, the next thought is a hijack of that truth. It's so interesting to watch.
like that imposter syndrome that kind of doubts yourself and who am I to think about this and who am I to believe this and all that kind of stuff. So you mentioned that when your body feels a certain way, that's usually the truth. Can you kind of describe how that feeling is like, or how does some of your clients react when they get to that moment where they go, ah, this does feel right? What's that
I see
thing?
tears coming out of their eyes. I feel goosebumps in my body. I feel like they land to a place of peace, right? And the thing is that that is not the only indicator I'll tell people that that's the truth, right? I'll say, go and try it out. Go apply it in your life. Go apply it in your relationship. See what happens,
Mhm.
right? And usually, positive, good things happen out of it, right? Like a relationship is healed. Like for example, for me and my dad, right? We weren't able to talk with each other for many years, for decades even. And as a kid, I was very volatile emotionally. And I'll slam the table and say, I don't want to talk to you, right? And over the years, being able to cultivate that ability to just be centered in the truth without imposing it on him, we can have a two-way conversation. And that's when I know, wow, our relationships are healing. There's some truth to this about me softening down, accepting my pain, and not making it about him, but taking full ownership of it. So I feel like a lot of relationships, we are quick to judge. And there's a saying that you attract what you judge until you stop judging what you attract.
Very, very well said. You mentioned about the impact of mentors and coaches that's able to guide you along, who's been there, who's done that, who's able to challenge you. And sometimes challenging people and asking those tough questions gets you to stretch your limits, to get you to grow and do things that you normally don't do. However, talking about authenticity, people who applies different things, implements different things that the coaches ask them to do, makes them feel like it's not their authentic self. They go, hey, this isn't me. I don't usually do this. I don't usually think about it this way. I don't feel like it's me anymore. How do you combat the authenticity of who you think you are versus the changes that you have to make to become the person you want to be?
Right. And you made me think about a person that came to me once, and he was coming to me. That coach told me to do this spiritual teacher told me to do that, and then my doctors told me to do this, and there's so many conflicting advices bombarding him at once. And you know what I say to him? I say it doesn't matter what they think, what your doctors think, what your spouse think, what your parents think. What matters is what you think, right? And this is where I feel like a lot of the coaches and mentors in the industry is not doing a favor for people because they're pouring advices, quick fix solutions because they want them to win really quickly. And then they adopt this militaristic kind of like way to get you to take action, but may not be truly authentic to that person. I believe that one size does not fit all. And this is where, in the way that I coach people, is that this is why I take time. I need to draw out the inner wisdom within them. I can't just give them what I think that is best for them, right? And this is also the same way that I've worked with my coaches and mentors, who I still follow, right? I've left different coaches and mentors as well, because I felt like I was being imposed with advices that I didn't need. So in a way, a lot of us had to learn the hard way, getting burned when we don't trust ourselves. Those moments when for example, your friends inviting you to a party, you don't want to go, but you say yes anyway. Those
Mhm,
moments, it's usually the worst experience ever,
mhm.
right? And it's the same thing when coaches give you advices and mentors give you advice. Please try it out. Don't discard it, neither take it fully, right? Go try it, go experiment it. If it's not working, then once, then okay, let's try it again. Twice, if it's not again, not working again. Three times, if it's not working, then there must be something that's not quite right with it. And this is where the self-inquiry practice comes in. This is why asking questions is the most important thing. And I think coaching and mentoring, it's not about the answers, it's about the questions.
I liked how you added in the fact that you should try it out first. Because when you mentioned about the fact that, hey, remember those times where you're invited to a place and you really don't want to go? I can remember a lot of those situations. However, it turns out that when I do make myself go, it turns out to be a great night. And sometimes it's that struggle to to kind of go, hey, you know what? If I stay at home, if I don't do anything about it, nothing ever changes. It's when you take the action, try things out, then things start changing, right? You learn different things, you meet different people, and as long as you keep on trying, taking action, I think that's very, very important. And I like how
Yeah,
you said that. It's the fact that you have to try things out.
exactly. Because life is about feedback, right? And most people fails not because they have failed, but because they have not taken any action or trying or considered new possibilities. Sometimes we're so stuck with our own ways because it's comfortable, right? It clearly does not work, but because it's comfortable, we keep repeating it. And that to me is a sign of madness. And this is why coaches and mentors are so valuable because they get to point that thing out. Don't do that anymore. Okay, let's now search new possibilities, new ways. It does not mean you, as a mentor or a coach, you have all the answers for them. And this is why, as leaders as well, we are not obliged to give people answers or be responsible if we give the wrong answers. I've seen so many leaders are so afraid to guide their people because they don't want to be responsible for them. But the thing is, they are.
Mhm.
And it takes some level of grit and honesty and courage. And this is why most leaders have to first go through the trenches to experience those things and get real with themselves before they can lead other people.
They have to be able to say they've done it and they've been
Yeah.
through, right? They have to be able to share those stories and share those emotions and those learning processes to their clients and people that they're leading, or else why would they follow them, right? So, you mentioned how you used to be a child who is very emotional. You'll slam your hand on the table and have bad relationships and whatnot. Fast forward to today, you're a person who is like impacting people from all over the world. How did that happen? Because it's not easy for you to, you know what? I'm gonna go speak with people. I'm gonna go talk on stages and start a podcast and write a book and all that kind of stuff. That's a big shift.
Yeah, I grew up as a very shy, introverted kid. I was afraid of what people think about me. I was very self conscious. I had body image issues. Um, I used to think that I'm ugly, right? And the funny thing is that because my current girlfriend says, "No, you're so handsome right now. Are you kidding me?" But I still feel that way, right? There's some level of like, I would call it a cognitive dissonance as a kid growing up that I don't think I'm good enough. And I'm sure many of us relate to that. But it's because of this pain that drives me to learn more, to be better, to have some kind of standards with myself, or at least some kind of self promise, right? To really move through those difficult things because I know I can, and to get towards the goal and desires that I want to have. But what's really pushing me every single day is understanding that I have a purpose in life, that I did not suffer in vain, and all these different experiences that the universe is bringing to me are a feedback or a message or a calling, right? I remember I read my first book about this called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I don't know how many of you guys know that, but it's a pretty well-known book. It says that your only obligation is to realize your personal legend, and that is really about you. I truly believe that our purpose is not what we do, it's not our ambitions, it's not our dreams, it's who we get to be as a result of following that bliss, that feeling of like, wow, this is so fulfilling, this is so meaning. And the thing is that I continue to feel the fulfillment and the rewards and the um, the feeling of being touched by something greater than me when I said yes to this every single time, despite the fears, despite the complaints, despite not wanting to wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. to, you know, learn a webinar or something with my mentors from the States or whatnot, right? Because we are in a different time zone. So it's definitely that feeling of like knowing that something bigger than me is calling me and taking good care of me. And I have a responsibility to bring that out.
So that calling, is that something that you always refer back to when things get tough? So when you do have to wake up at 3 and you're like, oh, my alarm's not off yet. I kind of want to take a little bit more time to rest, but it's that calling. Is that
Yeah.
what pushes you to do all these things?
Initially, what pushed me to do all this thing is that I want to heal so
Mm,
badly because doctors and people have been telling me it's impossible to heal without medication. You have to be medicated your whole life. I rejected that idea, and every day that when I was going through tough times, is to that I know there is an answer to healing. and I'm going to look for it. And I did, right? And today, it's not about me anymore. It's about the community and the people that's waiting for me, that I'm already serving, that requires me to be at a high level of integrity, a high level of authenticity, because that is what heals. And I'm here to be a mirror for them. So I'm continue to feel that passion and that motivation that is intrinsic. No one pushes me to do this but me. I could easily just go off into the island and whatnot, but the thing is that I didn't want to do that. Something bigger, and that thing bigger is my people now, my family, my community that I have built connections with, that require me to be that person for them.
So your transition from a patient to somebody who's healed to becoming that person who goes out there to encourage and impact people as an entrepreneur. What was the biggest learning curve for you in the business and entrepreneur world?
Well, the business and entrepreneurship that we are in, it starts with us. We do it for us because we have to be authentic with it. Otherwise, it will burn us out. But it's not about us. It's a service. We have to put in the service mentality to put our service and our best gifts into the thing that we love so much to people, right? I see that a lot of people in business and entrepreneurs, one of their biggest problems is that they assume that the world needs what they have, and they play that guessing game, and then they impose their things onto the world thinking that that's what everybody needs. But when they actually study the market, no, right? And then they'll be so disappointed, and they'll be like, why didn't this thing turn out, that why didn't this thing work out? Is because a lot of people are putting their egos on the line and making it about them. So I've learned that the hard way. This is why I'm able to say this, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. But seriously, it's because I have done that myself, and I felt like, oh, this is why I'm not making any money. Damn it, right? So I pivot, and the moment I care about people, the moment I care about my community, the moment I care about people who's in trouble, struggling with what they have, and just genuinely serving them, the business starts to build itself. So there's a saying that you build your community, the community takes care of you back.
Do you take an approach of how you take care of your body the same way as how you take care of your business?
100%. They are mirror relationship of one another. And I feel that the days that I feel down and low is the days that I get a lower sales opportunity. And no matter what I try to create a business thing going, it's just feels so effortful. So I realized that I have to put myself first and be in a place where I'm high energy, I'm excited to do what I need to do. And if even if when that feeling goes away, which it goes away, sometimes business is boring. It's the same thing that you do every single day, and it's tough, and sometimes you do so much with little return. But the thing is, like, it's like farming. You plant those things and you can't keep opening the soil to check on it. You need to leave it to grow. And while you leave it to grow, you focus on a different patch of land. And this is why I feel like, business to me is a spiritual practice.
We talked about coaches, we talked about challenges, talked about failures. What was one thing that your coach challenged you to do that you thought was completely like out of the blue, completely ridiculous, but you did it anyway?
Going out there and talk to people.
How was that first experience for you?
Like I told you, like, I'm an introvert,
Yeah.
right? I am shy. I am like very self-conscious about what people might think about me. And the moment they say you actually need to connect with people and go out there, do public speaking, and be just call out people, hey, have those cold calls, which I kind of like want to avoid. And to me, it's like I have fear of strangers. So it's like completely absurd. Like even talking to you and meeting you for the first time is like, oh my god, am I gonna say this wrongly? Who am I to say all of this kind of stuff? But in the end of the day, it's like stop making it about you. The world needs you. The world needs you to speak your truth, and you speak from where you're at, so you don't have that imposter syndrome because you're not being someone you're not.
What was that first speaking engagement like for you? Like the first time you spoke in front of what, 10, 20, 100, 2,000 people?
Well, I first started speaking and took the courage to speaking when I first started podcasting. I wrote down scripts that is like 3, 4 pages long,
Yeah.
and for a half an hour episode, it took me 6 hours. Then the days of the reels from the Instagram came in. Oh, we can film 5 minutes videos. Okay. That took me hours again. And then eventually they cut short to 90 seconds and 60 seconds. And I took lesser time every time I do it. And from script, I went to scriptless. And then I started giving and teaching my first idea about a masterclass that is completely free. Online during that time, it was during COVID. And it was an audience of like 5 people, 6 people. Then it slowly built into 10, slowly built into 15. And then as I started doing live workshops, right? And started giving myself that courage. First, in the beginning, it's just families attending. It's kind of like, it's even worse because my dad is attending. And I'm like, damn it, I don't want to say this and be this person in front of you, right? But if I know if I can speak to him, I can speak to thousands and thousands of people, which eventually lead me to my biggest stage is about 1,600 people. It was a TEDx a speaking gig, and that was beautiful because I couldn't see the audience, but I could feel the energy, and it feels as if like I'm one with them, and I could feel like my message is being heard and touched. And I think when I'm able to do that, regardless of how I think I perform, that was enough for me.
That is totally awesome. I can so relate. When I first did videos online, I was actually challenged by a masterclass member to do these videos online. And originally, my coach goes, "Why don't you do one video a day for a whole year?" And my left brain goes, "Wow, that's 365 videos. That's content topics. I don't have that much." And then it came out to be, okay, how about one video a week? And I had a layover in, I think, Phoenix for 3 hours. And I go, okay, I'm going to do my very first video. I had 172 takes before I was willing to actually post that freaking video. And I'm like, man, this is taking way too long. So then I'm like, screw it. Just do it, post it, don't look at it, don't listen to it, just believe it
Exactly.
works kind of thing.
Exactly. Because eventually the pain of going through the whole process and you judging yourself, gets too painful. Just put it out.
How was that TED? Like you mentioned the TEDx and that feeling of being heard, and that amazing experience. How did you get the TEDx? Like, did people reach out to you? Did you apply? How did that come about?
The funny story to that is that I've written, like the very woo-woo thing, like the secret, the law of attraction kind of thing. I literally written down in my journal that I want to be a TEDx speaker a year and a half before it happened,
Wow.
right? And I just wrote it down, and this is my vision. This is what I'm gonna go for. And I did not wait for a TEDx opportunity to come. I actually wrote my story down, what I wanted to speak on stage. I also started practicing because I knew I have a message so strong that the world needs to hear, right? And eventually, friend introduced to me to another friend, and I led me to go to a trip. It's like a food trip. The curator of TEDx is in the same trip as me. And then, we were sitting in the same part of the I think it was like a little, what do you call it, like a little boat because we are on the river. And then she started interviewing me. I didn't know that she actually wanted me to go up there. And it was, by the way, that was right after COVID. It was just like the beginning of it. And because TEDx at that time they run it every year, so they have stopped, right, for a couple of years, and they want to restart it that year. And I think the theme for that year is reset. And then when she heard about my story and she felt like I want someone who could actually experience a reset before in his life to speak on stage. So that's how I got the gig actually.
You talked about you being an introvert, and people now is like, wow, this is such a person that speaks so well. How did you get past that fear of speaking in front of people? Other than forcing yourself to do those videos, were there other things that you practice on, that you learn, that you talk to other people? What were some of those things that you go, okay, I need to implement these things so that I can speak in front of a large group of audience like a TEDx?
So this is a mindset that I have, is that speak as if there's only one person right in front of you. If you're introverted listening to this right now, speak as if there's only one person right in front of you, be it a stage, right? Be it a big stage or a small stage or in a Zoom. And sometimes I get so scared because I feel I'm a sensitive person and I can feel people's emotions. I'm overly empathic and my nervous system will just give me the meltdown, right? I think one thing that really helped me prior to be a speaker is being comfortable being on stage. And this is where my experience as a dancer came in back then. I was a dancer and I wanted to be a professional dancer before I became a coach and a mentor. And so being on stage, I didn't have that problem for me. So I have no issues with stage fright, right? My issue is speaking because I always feel like my words are jumbling up with one another. Then the whole technique of like speaking to as if to one person came in, and that's what I did, right? And sometimes because there's so many people in the audience, some people will look like that, some people will like yawning and all sorts of facial expression can come through. Then my thought will be like, oh my god, are they like bored with me, and etc., etc., and the mind's racing. And this is where the thing about mindfulness and meditation and calming down comes in, to calm myself down, to be in my body. And then I focus on one person that is actually interested in you, and you form that connection. Then
Very,
everything starts to run smoothly.
very, very well said. And I, like, again, totally can relate to that feeling, especially those people who are like all grumpy looking in front at the front, and you're
Are
like,
you
ah, oh,
judging
gotta
me?
stop looking at that person. Look over here.
Yeah.
What's your routine right before you go up? How do you pump yourself up? How do you know that you have the right energy? How do you go out there and get the crowd into it? How do you do all that stuff?
Like in general in life or on stage?
Oh, on stage. Oh, both.
Okay, so I have a mindset, is to show up imperfectly no matter what. And sometimes my energy is at 50%. Then I'll say, let's be 100% in my 50%. If I'm 80% today, then 100% in my 80. If I'm 1%, okay, I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to try to be more than 1%. I'm going to be 100% in my 1%, right? Meaning I am fully present with who I am and what my energy and what my emotions is telling me at every single moment, right? So that I don't get distracted. But there will be days where I get extremely triggered. Today is one of those days, I'll be honest with you, right? And is to be with it. Don't try to avoid it because, like I mentioned before, the first step is to accept where you're at. Then you can start shifting the energy, right? So that has been the mindset of me going through every single moment of my life, whether it's going on stage, whether it's cooking, whether it's coaching, whether it's showing up for an interview, is to be where I need to be because that's the only moment that I'm in, right? And then, I have routines in the morning before I go up. I make sure I protect my first hour of the morning. I use things like airplane mode before I go to bed so that I don't look at my phone. And even when I wake up, I turn off the alarm, it's still in airplane mode. I don't see any messages. So I first take care of my body, make some coffee, take care of my cat, and make sure that I'm in a space where I could just do things and check it off the list and have that little win in the morning. Then get some sun, get some nature, and really just have a moment to live. Okay? And then after that, that's when the entrepreneurial switch starts kicking in. Okay, what's the task? What do I need to talk to? What are some new ideas I need to implement? Start being creative, and then I go about my day.
What are some of the wins that you celebrate, or how do you celebrate your wins?
How I celebrate my wins. It's funny. It's a funny question that you asked that because I am someone who have difficulty celebrating wins, right? To me, my wins is when people come to me and say thank you for, maybe it's a word, thank you for checking in on me, or thank you for a beautiful session that really shifted the way I look at things. A lot of my wins today and these days even is not coming from that's something that I've done, right? It's something when people win and I get to witness that and I get to be a part of that I truly celebrate, right? It's being in community. And this is something that I also practice within my community. Every week, every Sunday, we have something called a celebration group, right, on WhatsApp. And to me, accountability is not just reflecting on things that you did not do well, but it's also things that you did well. So in that group, we call it the celebration group because it's really about accountability, and we just share our wins no matter how small that is, and being in community and witnessing each other. That's how I celebrate right now.
You talk about your community. You've talked about how you wrote about being a TEDx speaker a year and a half before being a TEDx speaker.
Yeah.
What are you building up to now?
So I have a vision. I am building a community of 100 people this year of heart-centered leaders, right, from different parts of the world, so that we can create spontaneous healing and empowering life transformation everywhere. I truly believe that when we come back to our heart and be the leaders that we need to be, then we will naturally share the gift that has already been there, right? Like, for example, there's so many business coaches out there, there's so many mentors out there, there's so many healers out there, there's so many doctors out there, right? So what? Who am I to be another healer or another coach? Well, there's only one version of you. There's only one Fong, there's only one Chiron, there's only one version of you, and that you-ness, the essence of being you, is the gift the world needs, the gift that the world is waiting for. So I have a vision of bringing these people together and lead from a place of their heart with love. And when I can activate that, I just can't imagine the cascade of impact that could happen throughout. Eventually, 10 years down the line, which is like my ultimate goal or dream, is to create a school, right? A physical retreat where people can come in to learn about heart centered leadership.
That is very, very cool, and I look forward to seeing that school come to fruition. And I'm sure you already written that somewhere in your house that's
I
gonna
did.
come true
I
early
did.
too.
Yeah.
All right, so you gave a lot of great advice, lots of great recommendations throughout this time. If we were to put you on the world stage again, and you only had to pick one more message to share with everybody for people to remember Chiron for, what would that be?
So if you have a heart, you have a purpose. If you have a purpose, you have a calling. If you have a calling, you have a desire. And if you have a desire, there's something out there that is desiring you. So show up.
Nicely said. Great words to live by. It was very, very mind-blowing. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, I'm gonna ask you five quick rapid-fire questions. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
All right.
Okay. You're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence. So you'll still be healthy, you'll still be energetic, but you could be anything.
Pasta.
Nicely done. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Chiron, we love your story. Very, very impactful, very, very inspirational. Who would you cast to play you in your story?
Does it have to be Asian or someone?
It could be anybody.
Wow.
Method actors, they could do anything."
Yeah, that's true. Jet Li.
Woo. Jet Li shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, buddy, Chiron, I got casted to play you. Let's hang out. Let's have some fun." And you go, "Hey, Jet, buddy, no problem. I got the whole night planned out. What does that night look like to you?"
I think we'll sit down sipping tea, talking about philosophy of life and about this whole question about who are we as humans.
Nice. Now, Jet Li is hungry. And he goes, "Hey, let's go out." You go, "Don't worry about it. I got dinner all prepared." What's that special dish that you could prepare?
In Chinese, it's called 小笼包, right? It's the dumplings
Uh,
of Shanghainese dumplings. Yeah,
wow. You hand make those?
yeah. I would love to handmade those, but I can't.
Oh.
I would love to.
All right, last question. Before I get to that last question, give me a number from one to six.
Let's do three.
One, two, three. So the word is marathon.
Marathon.
If you had to use marathon as a metaphor for success, how is success like a marathon?
How is success like a marathon? It never ends.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like a marathon. Thank you very much for your time, your stories, your wisdom. It's been a pleasure. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
The best way is to go on Instagram. My handle is at Chiron Yang, CHIRONYENG.
And any final words?
Nope. I am feeling grateful and blessed to be here. And thank you for your presence, Fong. And I appreciate all the questions that we get to dive deep in.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, everybody out there. Make sure you connect with Chiron. His Instagram has a lot of great content out there, a lot of great things to learn from, and I guarantee you, you're gonna be very very grateful to be connected with Chiron on Instagram and all his other stuff. So thank you very much again. He's Chiron. My name's Fong. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.